following up my colleagues. You're fully aware of the internal documents that surfaced last August that outlined the administrative option to keep undocumented aliens from being removed from the United States. Since then, this administration has ignored repeated requests to answer questions about this memo, and so I hope to get some answers today from you, and I have 3 of them. Who directed the 4 officials at the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service to write the internal amnesty memo that my office obtained last year?
Senator, first of all, on the Privacy Act issue, let me, if I might, your question number 2. We will be happy to look at the case. We will be happy to look at the exemption. In terms of oversight, if there's anybody that has oversight, it's the Department of Homeland Security. In the 111th Congress, we provided over 3,000 briefings to the Congress. We provided over 250 testimonies at hearings, 140 from leadership. I think I testified myself over 20 times. We have responded. We get the most FOIA requests of any department by far. So we have a lot of oversight. I think over 100 committees and subcommittees of the Congress have oversight of the Department of Homeland Security. And one of our asks, and the reason I make this point, of the Congress is that when it created the department, it didn't similarly reorganize its own oversight structure to match the Department of Homeland Security. And one of the recommendations, Senator, of the 9/11 Commission, and virtually the only one on which no movement has been made, is an effort by the Congress to try to streamline our oversight because it takes a huge amount of manpower. Now, with respect to the memo, question 3 to which you referred, I'm unaware that it was directed by anyone, and I will tell you that in the department, people come up with ideas, and that's not a bad thing for people to be thinking. They may be ideas that are bad. They may be ideas that are unworkable. They may be ideas that have no force other than employees thinking about their area of expertise. But as our process works through, it gets ultimately up to the Assistant Secretary, Undersecretary, Deputy Secretary, and myself. Those ideas get winnowed down. So the memos to which you refer, and I think we've been very, very clear about this, have never been acted upon, were never accepted, and are not the policy or practice of the department.
Well, I have a draft copy of a memo. By the way, it appears to me to be quite complicated, and a lot of effort went into it, and not a lot of people that knew what they were doing. So it's just not somebody out there looking for some idea to bring some idea forth through a memo. But I have a draft copy of the memo written February 26, 2010 that was intended for you, Madam Secretary. Did you at any time since you became Secretary review memos or proposals that describe administrative options such as deferred action or parole to get around Congress's inaction on the immigration reform bill? And some of these memos, or this memo, referred to efforts that we aren't getting anything done on immigration in the Congress, so maybe we ought to take some action through the executive branch.
Well, I can understand the Senator's concern there. All I can say is, Senator, we have been very clear. We are not going to give deferred action to large groups as opposed to on a case-by-case basis, which is what I believe the statute permits. However, I will say that the President is very committed and asks again for the Congress on a bipartisan level to take up the overall issue of immigration, because even some of the questions that were asked of me today about visas for dairy farmers and what we do with H-1B and how do we handle this and how do we handle that, we are, as a department, we are enforcing the law as it currently exists. We took an oath to do so. We're doing that. However, we think that law, and I think there's a lot of agreement by different aspects, the business community, others who think the law needs to be revised.
Well, I think that you do correctly state that the law does allow on a case-by-case basis, but the impression you get from these memos that we receive is that Congress wasn't acting. We need to do something to make a massive amount of people that came here illegally to make them legal. And that gets way beyond a case-by-case basis if you're talking about, you know, I don't know how many people, but it sounds to me like thousands of people. Let me ask the last point. Would you commit to providing me by the end of this week with statistics that we've asked for about the number of deferred actions and paroles granted since you became secretary?
Well, I think if I might, let me, I have some. As you say, we can do deferred action on a case-by-case basis. The law permits that, and it's usually for compelling humanitarian concerns, and those are done. Now, in FY 2010, we removed over 395,000 aliens. We exercised deferred action in fewer than 900 cases, which was actually fewer than deferred actions than were granted in the years prior to that. So I'll be happy to put that in writing for you, Senator, but those are the FY10 numbers.
That was deferred actions. Does that also include what we call paroles? And I assume deferred actions and paroles are different. Then I'm done.
My understanding is it does not include the paroles. We will provide that for you.
Thank you.